Welcome everybody to another episode of From Page to Stage. Now today I have the joy and pleasure of interviewing a lovely gentleman here in Malaysia in person. Now this is not going to be a common occurrence because usually the conversation happens online, but this is a genuine, real life, I can poke him person. Everyone, I'd love you to introduce you to this gorgeous gentleman, Snow.
Oh, she said gorgeous. I put the clock in there. I said gorgeous.
Snow is really good with the gadgets, and this is his studio setup. So I'm very privileged to have an in-person conversation with him today. But we're going to talk about how we go from page to stage, because this gentleman has recently become a published author. So I'm going to ask you, Snow, what prompted you to write your chapter?
That's a good question, Wendy.
Actually, can I backtrack for a minute? But
Yeah.
even before that, what got you to the position of thinking about it?
So
Tell us a bit about yourself.
So for a long time, folks have been telling me I need to tell my story. I should write that down. I should write a book. People have been telling me this for some time now. My wife, whom you met, Claire, Malaysian, she, when hearing me tell stories to other folks for the first time or different things I tell people about my journey and the experiences I've been on, I recognize I've done some cool stuff in the past. I've lived an amazing life. I have an amazing lifestyle. I have an amazing life. Going thus far. And Claire would tell me that she hasn't heard that particular story yet, and how exciting it is. And she also mentioned, besides saying you should write that story so people can read and hear learn what you've been through and what you've done, your experiences, but to actually highlight and pinpoint what made me really start to make a conscious effort to really kind of doing it, is when she asked me, "Hey, does your kids know that you have done that? Do they know this background?" It's like, well, actually, no, they don't. My grandkids don't know that, Papa Snow has done X, Y, and Z. So this was the reason that I've decided to actually do it. But now everyone says they're going to write a book. Everyone says they're going to write a book for years and years and years, and I was that way for decades. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to tell my story. Just never did.
And now you have.
Now I have. Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. So partly to leave a legacy to family and beyond about not just your life story, but the wisdom that you've gained through those experiences. Would that be fair to say?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I'm necessarily on this journey, on this course, to leave a blueprint on how others can navigate their lives. But I won't take it for granted that someone might find a path through my failures, my successes, and everything in between. I'm perfectly content on recognizing that that's a possibility.
Yeah.
But the primary focus of my launching my first book, multi-author book, was multifold, which was one to pay tribute to my mother, who is a published poet and an artist. And I regret I didn't have my book here. That's ridiculous. I didn't bring it. But it's I'm in Leaders with the Heart Volume 2. Our good friend Pamela Lorenzo.
Yes.
And my chapter is called iBallin with Snow, which is my passion project, iBallin the brand, which is the reason why the basketball is back here. That's one of the products that started the iBallin brand concept. And so my title, the title of my podcast is iBallin with Snow. Play locally, win globally. That's part 1, where we just talk about all things iBallin, contest, contestants wise, and iBallin with Snow part 2. That's where passion meets purpose, and that's where I get to do exactly what you're doing, interviewing people that are passionate about whatever they're passionate about, and giving them a platform to showcase these things. So, not so long ago, my brand iBallin has merged with Oracle Travels, and we've created this Oracle Podcast Studios, which is where we are today. And we have a product called Competition Tourism. So iBallin and Oracle Travels is bringing competition tourism to the forefront, and we're going to do some super amazing things. So the chapter that I wrote encompasses all those things.
Oh, fantastic.
Just as a teaser.
As a teaser, yes.
Yes.
Well, can you give us a little teaser from it? I mean, why the basketball? Tell me a bit more about the basketball.
Oh, I don't think anybody's asked that question though. Why basketball? I actually played basketball growing up in Joliet. I'm from Joliet, Illinois, south of Chicago. And basketball for me was a way to stay on the straight and narrow path. Some of my good friends, as we were small kids, when I grew up in Joliet in the 70s and 80s, it had a lot of gangs, violence, drugs, and the way that I kind of steered clear of some of that stuff is through sports.
Right.
I was actually quite tall in the 7th and 8th grade. I think I got to almost 6 foot, if not 6 foot, almost 6 foot in 8th grade.
Oh, wow.
And I was getting a mustache too. So some of the coaches, some of the Dean Johnson, she, I think she was a friend of the family. She actually made me to play basketball. And it was her who helped me with my timing. She threw me in the alley-oop and helped me to get my first slam dunk when I was in 8th grade.
Oh, cool.
And so basketball for me has just been something that I did to pass time, of course, like everyone else. But it also put me on a trajectory, put me on a path that led me to do some amazing things.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, because I'm sitting here going, I know basketball's important to you.
Yes.
But I hadn't quite worked out why. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Okay. So which came first, the book or the podcast?
Which came first, the book or the podcast? They were almost simultaneous. I got into the book, Leaders with the Heart, Volume 2, because I had met Payman Lorenzo, which is our podcasting coach and guru. And he kept telling me that you need to tell your story, you need to tell your story. And he handed me his business card, which is his book.
Yes.
And I took that book for months, and I just threw it in the back of my car. I didn't get around to it. But while taking my wife to visit mom-in-law in Kuala Trengganu, and needing a sanity escape, I went to the beach with the book and said, I got this book I need to read. I got a cup of coffee, started reading the book. And wow, these authors, their stories, their journey was absolutely fantastic for me. And I read one of the author's comments, and it went something like this. And if you hear me speak on other platforms, I'll be saying this a lot because I wholeheartedly believe this. The quote was from an author inside that book, Leaders with the Heart, Volume 1, and it goes like this: I am open to receive what the universe has in store for me. Wow. I mean, that was a time for me to, at that time I needed to hear that. So from reading that book, I decided to take Payman's podcasting challenge in his course.
Right.
And upon graduation from that, technically I was a podcaster at that time, but there was something missing for me in podcasting. And I'm not sure if you can relate to it, but on the Zoom conference calls, it was difficult for me to establish that connection.
Okay.
On a Zoom call.
Right.
Which is why I talk about my partners here at Oracle Travels, and we created this podcast studio because this feels so much better for me. Even something, you just taught me something today just as well. On my previous podcasts that I host, I wear, as you call them, the cans, I wear the headphones, but with the headphones off, this feels even much more natural. So I'm going to start integrating this into some of my shows just as well. So your question was, which came first, the book or the podcast? Technically, the podcast, but technically the podcast came first, but the book was published and on the streets before I actually did an official podcast interview.
Yeah. And have you been on other people's podcasts talking about your book?
Oh, no, you're the first person that brought me on the podcast to talk about my book. Thank you very much for that. I give it up to you, Wendy, for getting me on her stage talking about my book.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, should we stop this for a second while you go and get your book?
We need to stop it for a second. Give camera 3 to Wendy. Wendy, let the audience know what we're about to do.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we do with From Page to Stage is we talk to authors and get them to say, this is the book I've written. This is what I'm going to be talking about on different stages, whether it be podcasts or virtual stages or live stages. But the point is that if you are an author, you need to talk about your work. You need to talk about the contents, the wisdom that you have learnt, whether it be as a contributor or whether it be from a solo book. What is it that you have put down on paper and then you embody as you speak about it? So now we have got Snow back in the room. Snow, show us your gorgeous book.
This is the one. Leaders with the Heart, Volume 2. I'm super excited about this. And you see the comment, iBallin with Snow. That is, wonderful chapter that I wrote. I was super excited to write that chapter. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to start. But our publisher, Mary Gooden, was wonderful with the whole process. And it was an amazing experience. Absolutely amazing experience.
Fantastic. Because Mary is also one of our guests.
Oh, is she?
She is, yes.
Yes, nice.
So we'll make sure that we cross-reference all of these conversations because so many of us know each other. Because that's the thing with networking. And part of your networking opportunities as an author is with your book. Because Payman, the gentleman that we've been talking about, he actually hands out his book as at networking meetings to say, this is who I am, this is what I'm about. And that's the joy of being an author. You've got something that you can physically share with people and also verbally share with people when you are on a podcast, on a virtual stage, on a physical stage. So this is where we're going with this podcast thing to start with, because I find a lot of authors are going, I've written a book and that's as far as I'm prepared to go. I've got it down on paper. But that's only the start of it. Your audience is limited to the people who have, 1, your physical copy, or 2, your e-copy, your Kindle version. Sometimes if you're in a multi-author book, you might even get the opportunity to do an audio version as well. That's not common, I'll admit. If you do a solo book, then it's up to you whether or not you want to do that. But all of those require you to embody your words, to get your words out onto a stage. So I'm going to ask you a bit more. You've got the iBallin with Snow, and I made sure that the ing wasn't on there because it's iBallin.
iBallin, that's right. I be all in.
I be all in. Yeah, that's
Yes.
really clever. And
Yes.
you got the play on words with the... I see what you did there.
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay, so we've got the iBallin. And you were talking also about the competition.
Oh, competition tourism.
Competition tourism,
Yes.
that was it. Tell us a bit more about the competition tourism, because it all comes together in your chapter, doesn't it?
Yeah, yes. Competition tourism is a big part of me launching this book, because it's everyone has. I mean, most people know that have played sports either as young kids or grown ups, entering tournaments and contests. I discovered a systematic flaw with the way competitions are hosted in this way for decades. Not anything intentionally; it's just the way it is. So, imagine if you would just let me take you someplace for a moment. You've entered a contest or tournament in your local district, whether it's sports, whether it's arts, dance recitals, either whether it's a cooking contest. You enter that local contest, and if you win that contest, usually you win the trophy, you win the small cash prize or whatever you win. You take that thing home. But you're also, if it's a bigger tournament, you're also eligible to compete at the next level contest. And if you win that one, on to the next one, and so on and so forth. Before you know it, you find yourself on a global stage overseas competing for the whole world to see. So if I asked you this question, who do you know from your hometown, and pick any of your hometowns that you're from,
Yes.
that has been on the global stage? Most people say, well, I can't think of anybody that's been on the global stage. Think of America's Got Talent. Think You Can Dance. Think of The Voice. How many of our friends from our hometowns have we seen gracing those stages? Nobody, right? There's three fundamental reasons for that. One is when you play locally in your hometown and you win, you're eligible to compete at the next level. The next level is usually across town, downstate, in another state. And for people like me growing up, we just didn't have the resources. I couldn't afford to go play. And also, we're only playing for fun. It's not one of our professions. So therefore, someone's journey ends there.
Yeah.
Never on the grand stage, for that one reason. Second reason is, that contest is being played on date X. And date X doesn't work for you, particularly because you have studies. Here in Malaysia, they call them A-levels. You have to watch your grandma, you have to babysit your siblings. A whole source of reasons that you can't make it for the date-wise. So their dreams, global stage, shattered. The third thing is, the next level contest, the competition's a little bit higher, right? It's a good chance that there's a good chance some local person don't possess the skill sets to compete at that higher level. And so then you catapult, wash, rinse, repeat. And at the next national level, to the stage right before the grand finals are going overseas, you're competing against what's seemingly professionals in the industry, whatever industry you pick. So it's very tough.
Yeah.
So with iBallin, we've seemed like we've broken the code on how to play locally yet win globally.
Tell me more.
As a logistician, I do logistics for a living, and I got pretty proficient with. I do big things logistically for world leaders, heads of states, lots of assets, and we are now able to allow you to compete in your local contest. A local iBallin contest, a grand prize event, allows you to play in your backyard. Literally in your backyard, because our platform is primarily online, and the grand champions, they'll win an all expense paid vacation overseas, either to Malaysia or to the U.S. initially. And while you're in those locations, we're going to give you a fantastic, wonderful time, wonderful vacation, but we're going to pair you up to compete with someone in that location.
Oh, cool.
And that lies competition tourism.
Right.
That's an initiative that we worked with Oracle Travels. We partnered with them. They are our vehicle to handle the logistics of the players for their hotel accommodations, airfare, transportation, ground transportation, and tours on the ground at said locations. So
So it's competition at your local level, and then if you win, you get to go somewhere else and then play another competition as well as having as well as having a vacation.
yeah, go on vacation. And while you're on vacation, listen, vacation is not, nowadays vacation is boring. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to take 5-10 days off and go scuba diving, go in the Bahamas, go to the beaches in Malaysia. But then what? So we say that when your vacation ends, it doesn't have to stop for iBallin competition tourism. While you're on vacation, how cool will it be to have a contest set up in your name for you to come to?
Oh, yeah.
Because Wendy, if you win our contest, we're gonna let the visiting city that you go to know that the champion Wendy is coming, and you have a chance to compete against Wendy. Now, what about the date? Now, remember, it was the funding, because with competition tourism, we take care of all the funding of your trip. We take care of the airfare, the accommodations, and on-ground transportation, and some entertainment. Check, that's done. That's done. What about the date? Remember, the date was a conflict. Well, Wendy, my name is Snow. I'll be your culture attaché. Congratulations for winning the iBallin poetry writing contest. Hint, hint. That's coming. Congratulations for winning the iBallin writing contest. You tell us 2 months in advance when you want to travel. We take care of everything for you.
So you organise not only the travel, the
Transportation,
accommodation and all the
accommodations.
rest of it. You're also organising the competition to coincide with the visit.
Yes, that's the secret sauce. You never have to miss a contest due to a scheduling conflict. We create a tournament for you to play in when you're here on the ground. And we have an all summer non-option policy. For iBallin, you are an official baller. You are an elite celebrity. You get to do everything on the itinerary. You get to do some of it. You don't have to do any of it. We will highly encourage you to compete in the contest because it's going to have some great prizes.
Yes.
But this is your journey.
And also, if I know even a little bit about you, there'll be so much publicity going on in the destination place, so that you really are a celebrity in the local area.
You know, what I am doing with this platform is I feel immensely blessed in my life right now. I live in this beautiful, beautiful country. I have a wonderful wife. And I have some outlets that are just kind of ridiculous that I hang out at. So I want to give as many people the experience as possible of living what they call the baller's lifestyle, which is what iBallin stands for. International ballin, ballin yet internationally, which is what we do. So basically for the world leaders, when I do this, I do all this stuff here for kings and presidents. And now I'm giving an opportunity to kids, young adults, to get a little taste of that lifestyle just by doing something that they love. The back end feel good part of this is, as an American growing up in the U.S. with coming from a kind of a poor background, international travel is not an option. Going overseas to these wonderful tropical destinations, it's not in the cards at all. We don't even think about this. And I know that from my travels to more than 35 countries, the first time I left my hometown, went to someplace else, boy, was my horizons broadened. And it can change the trajectory of somebody's life by just experience something different.
Yes.
So the hopes and the goal is very simple. You like playing basketball, you like playing football, soccer, you like cooking, you like dancing, we have got a contest for you. And so in that contest, if you win the grand prize from competing in your backyard, you get this amazing trip. We start with staycation packages. We start with giving you your passport, paying for your passport applications, to a whole host of eventually, hopefully for you, the overseas travel piece.
Cool.
Yes.
Sounds great. Sounds great. You gave a hint earlier on about a poetry competition.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I'm suspicious. I'm thinking there's something coming up around that. Tell us more.
So with the launch of this book, I mentioned before how I wrote my chapter to be multifaceted. I also have given credit back to my mother with this poem right here with But I Did. And it goes like this. But I did. I know I said that I never would. But then I thought that I never could. But I did. That poem was published in 1971 by my mother with a pen name Ray N. And I've decided that when I write my chapter, I'm going to give her credit, pay her homage for that poem, because I read that poem for the first time when I was about 8 years old.
Okay.
And unbeknownst to me, it played a profound part of my life. Because when I started realizing I was going back to that poem, when I came across something new, scary, or different. I would, earlier we were talking, and before this moment, I would have told you I'll never be a public speaker. I'll never get on the stage. But then when I started to think about, why are so-and-so able to do this and why can I not do it? Wait a minute. I'm going to give it a try. So all of that is part of this poem. But I did.
You did.
I know I said that I never would. But then I thought that I never could. I'm a competitor. But I did. So such a profound poem has been with me now for over 40 years. And I can't think of a better way to honor my mother than to host a poetry contest in her name, or at least in her poem's name. She is.
Great.
Last year, 2022, so now 2 years ago, got that dreadful call from her. She got cancer. But being the positive spirit that she is, she's immediately said, hey, there'll be no pity parties. Let's just, I told the doctor, tell me what we need to do to fix this. And I'm so excited to say that in 2022, I went back to help her. She was one of my first female contestants in my iBallin contest at 71 years old. And so if you go to my website, internationalballin.com, you can see on our leader page, we have a leaderboard. The best adult, the best over 50 female, that's actually my mother.
We'll definitely make sure we've got that link in for you.
Yes.
Oh, that's really precious. That's really precious. So Mama's still with us, so Mama's going to get the benefit of the poetry competition being in her honor.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to taking all of the proceeds from the registrations of the poetry contest, and they'll go to her. And we'll have some things. We'll have some different prizes set for the winners of the poetry contest, of course. But this contest will be the one that started, and I'm pretty sure. And you're pushing me here. I'm pretty sure that we're going to most likely take the winner of our annual poetry contest, and then make the next year's contributions go to that poet.
Oh, nice.
Because poets are authors. They don't get paid.
No.
It's a passion project, but this platform we'll do some things where we'll get them published. We'll do some things where we help them to monetize their books, and also for authors. But I think for our poets, we're going to, don't hold me to this, but this is it sounds like this is the way it's going to go. Our grand champion poet, we're going to allow them to write a particular poem, and we're going to start to do some things where we kind of monetize that, and all those proceeds will go to that author.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. Because one of the things that I've experienced is that the book that you've contributed to, and the books that I've contributed to, thank you, they are very much sort of telling part of our own personal story and sharing some wisdom. Those books are really quite popular. I don't know that there's quite the same popularity for poetry books. So it'd be lovely to get more eyeballs on poems.
Yeah, sure. I fancy myself a poet, or I did at one point. I enjoy reading poems. So I have such a young age. And yes, you're right. A book of poems, they're not necessarily, they're not so sexy or attractive as from a marketing standpoint. So I do intend to figure out how can we make this a little bit more glamorous. I'm not sure if I'll have all the answers, but I'm going to make an attempt at it. So
one of the things, if I can interject at this point, one of the things that's really important for me when I've read poems is I have been reading them aloud in my head, and to get the authors to actually speak out their words is so. I think that's probably even more important with poetry than with something like the multi-author books. I mean, I don't know if are you an audible person? Do you like listening to audiobooks?
No,
you're not an audible person. I like to consume a lot of books on audio, and when you hear a narrator and when you hear the author, there is such a difference, because the author is so invested in their work, and they bring that extra something. If they're good narrators, I have to put that caveat on there, because sometimes you can get an author who's speaking and it's kind of reading and it's a little tedious and a little boring, and I'm sitting there going, oh, please let me at you. The point though with a poem is you can get so much of it's like artwork. You put your heart and soul into, I think, poems and artwork, even necessarily more than straight prose.
Yeah, so I would tell you that while I prefer to read my novels or my documents or books, I absolutely would rather hear the poem read. And I'm working on my mom to get her to go on tape and read each poem, so I can capture that just as well. Wendy, you will help me get her.
Oh, yes.
Her name is Regina. She's out there in Joliet.
Regina, you're definitely going to be watching this, girl. We're going to send a very special copy, especially to you. We'd love to.
So in fact, you know what? I can't believe I broke the news of my poetry contest on your program. How'd you do that? She's really good, guys.
I've actually done this twice today. I've had an exclusive on the other interview that I've done today, so I'm really on fire.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
Okay, so we've got the podcast came first, followed very quickly by the book, and those are both supporting the fabulous, what's the word I'm after? Mosaic of all the wonderful work that you're doing through the competition tourism, the iBallin thing. You've got the logistics and all of that all beautifully meshed in together. I'm going to ask what's next. We've got the poetry competition. You've got competitions all the way through, because you're a competitive kind of guy. I get that. And that's what fuels you onto the next thing. So what's next? Have I got another exclusive?
No, Wendy, I got to tell you that I've learned that my persona, I am most at peace when there's a lot of chaos and things moving around me. It may be from my military background, taking care of, hey, the guys, hey, shout out to the 494th Mighty Panthers out there in Lakenheath, England, on surge days. I'm not sure if you guys are still doing surge days, but go rewind the tape, rewind the film. During surges, we put up 50 to 75 jets in the air, and get to control some of these things from the time that they taxi to the time that they go out to the area and come back.
What planes were they?
F-15 Strike Eagles.
Right. Yeah.
F-15 Mighty Strike Eagles. Anyway.
Sorry, it was just that you and I were basically in the
Oh,
same
that's
part
right.
of the
Yeah,
country
yes.
at the same
Yeah,
time.
so the Strike Eagles that's making all the noise around the planes. Yeah, we were those guys. Anyway, a surge day is a very chaotic exercise, but I found a really peaceful moment within that chaos. And so if I don't have several things going on at one time, I get really, really boring, really, really bored, and I can't even seem to focus on the one thing.
Okay.
But I would tell you, with the podcasting, launching this podcast studio, writing books, and the iBallin brand, that is my passion project. I'm still trying to figure this whole thing out. We have a logistics company that we do cold storage, refrigeration truck services. That's enough. Yeah. For this year, that's enough. I'm not doing
For this year.
Yeah, for this year.
For this year.
Yes, we'll do that. I will have a big announcement to make in this summer for next year. Okay. You will not get that today.
I've had enough exclusives. Yes. I'm not going to be greedy.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, sir. As we wind up, I'm going to ask you, can you share a nugget of wisdom that you have learned through this whole process of how you have taken all your wisdom, well, not necessarily all of it, but some of the wisdom from your book as you're talking to other people about it, whether that be in podcasts or whether just general conversations? How can you distill something down for the audience so that we've got a little extra snow magic to take away?
Wow, that's a lot of pressure. Winnie, that's a lot of pressure. I don't, because this is still, this position that I'm in right now, it's still very much new to me, and it's foreign. Being an entrepreneur, being on the edge and getting my voice out there, it's still terrifying. I'm terrified. I don't know if you can tell, but right now inside this, I'm terrified actually. So, what wisdom do I have to give to others? I would say this: take chances. Take the chances. I've been holding back on offering this podcast studio up to other guests for rentals because I feel like, well, the light is not right, and this earlier today we were doing a sound check, and I'm kind of anal retentive about the sound, and there was a white mark over here. So, but I saw when I was scrolling on my social media, I'm gonna get this quote wrong, but it says something like, the perfection kills 90% of all great ideas. Trying to perfect it, something's going to come into place where, and you don't. It'll make you not start.
Yes.
Right. So don't be perfect. I mean, don't failure, if that is a word, is part of the process. So I'm learning that. Listen, I'll give you an example. If you knew that on your 45th attempt, you're going to find success on the 46th attempt, how fast would you try to get to that 45? But because you have a setback this one time, I'm afraid to go here, I'm afraid of this, and then you never get to 46, and that could be the payday. Yes. It could be 5. Right. So for those folks who are very lucky and get it in three attempts, you know what? That's not realistic. That doesn't happen. We all have a number. We don't know what that number is. Yes. But if you know that that number exists, even for me, our friend Payman, he's at 343 podcasts. So if my number is 300, if my number is 700, and I know it's 700, boy, I'm going to hold 5 podcasts every day, right?
Yes.
Just to get there.
Yes.
So that's it. Take the risk. Take the risk, and don't strive for perfection, but don't let perfection hold you back.
Nice.
Yes.
And I would add to that, I did it.
Yes.
Courtesy of your mother. I did it.
Yes. Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
Thank you, Regina. Those were brilliant words for him. Brilliant words. Okay, absolutely. Yes, thank you for that cheer. So, thank you very much. Snow, I've really appreciated speaking with you and using your facilities.
Yes.
So this will be a standout podcast in my library because it will look so different.
Wow.
Because it's also a
Yes.
I can touch you.
Yes.
I can touch you. So thank you again. Much appreciated. And we will come back in the next episode of From Page to Stage. For now, bye from me.